Hey, what's up guys? Here to talk to you about UFC 264, but before we get into that, I just want to say thank you. This is going to be the 19th video, and it's also the annual anniversary of the Kombat Kontact YouTube page. And yeah, I just want to say thanks. I appreciate y'all liking, commenting, sharing the videos. It's been great to interact with y'all online, even to talk to some of y'all in person and watch some fight cards with y'all. So in honor of that, I'm going to have another $25 Amazon gift card giveaway. All you got to do on this one is comment on who you think is going to win between McGregor and Poirier, and you will be entered into a chance to win the $25 gift card. And yeah, simple as that. The winner for the contest will be announced on Sunday night, so stay tuned to my Facebook page and the Kombat Kontact YouTube page to find out who won the giveaway. So now let's get into the stat card that is going to be UFC 264, and I mean that from start to finish. This card is going to be awesome. Even the prelims look good. So we're going to be seeing the likes of Nico Price, Carlos Condit, Sugar Sean O'Malley, Ryan Hall. All these guys are going to be on the card. It's going to be a stacked one. You're going to want to see it from start to finish. And this event's going to be headlined by the notorious Conor McGregor versus Dustin the Diamond Poirier for their Trilogy fight. So one of the fights I definitely want to talk about is Gilbert Burns versus Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. And this fight kind of brings you back to what MMA is all about. You know, style versus style. Karate being represented by Stephen Wonderboy Thompson and Jiu-Jitsu being represented by Gilbert Burns. But this fight goes a lot deeper than that. So this is going to be a great welterweight matchup between these two. The last time we saw Gilbert Burns was in February against his loss against Kamaru Usman, where he unfortunately got knocked out. And the last time we saw Wonderboy Thompson was in December, where he was able to pull off the 5-round decision victory. So it's been a little bit of time for Wonderboy, and Gilbert Burns is ready to get back into the winning column. And so like I said, a lot of folks are breaking this down as Jiu-Jitsu versus Karate, but it's more than that. That's just the tip of the iceberg. What's really going to be interesting to see is how both of these guys manage distance. Gilbert Burns is going to try to close distance in, pressure Wonderboy so that he doesn't have enough room to be out in the open to land efficiently. Wonderboy is going to try to keep Gilbert Burns at bay so that he can land efficiently at distance. So I believe this fight's going to come down to who can stay the most disciplined and who can make the least amount of mistakes. Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, like I said, likes to keep his distance, and Gilbert Burns is a powerhouse. So whenever he comes in, how is Stephen Wonderboy Thompson going to keep him at bay? How is he going to make sure that he stays within a safe range from Gilbert Burns? And I know we just saw Gilbert Burns get knocked out by Kamaru Usman, so it's going to be interesting to see how he deals with that adversity, whether he's going to be able to overcome it, whether he's going to be a little bit more timid. And Wonderboy Thompson, I mean, you know, when you get taken down, Gilbert Burns is not an easy guy to get back up off the ground from. You know, so once he takes you down, he usually is very, very good at keeping his opponents there. Well, let's not forget that he also had Kamaru Usman very, very hurt in the first round. So if he can have that success early, he even said himself that what happened in that fight was the lack of discipline. You know, he rocked Kamaru Usman, got him on the mat for a little bit, stumbled him hard, but he just couldn't capitalize on it. You know, his emotions got the best of him. He got a little too overeager and started making mistakes. So for this one, I see Gilbert Burns utilizing his takedowns as well as his explosiveness, even faking a few takedowns to come up top with a big combo. He's going to have to mix them both together. And that's simply because Wonderboy is just very hard to catch when you make yourself fight one-dimensionally. So I think Wonderboy is going to have to be able to time things out. I'm looking to see Wonderboy take the first round kind of slow, looking to get his rhythm, looking to work his game plan, trying to see what Gilbert Burns is trying to set up, eventually wearing him down throughout the fight and being able to pull off the decision victory. This is going to be a really interesting one to watch because Wonderboy Thompson is finally fighting a guy that's ranked above him and may be able to secure a title shot against Kamaru Usman after everything's done with Colby Covington versus Usman. All right, getting on into the main event. The Trilogy fight, the saga, the rivalry that has lasted for years now. 2 different divisions these guys have fought in. Each one of them has knocked the other one out. This is going to be for all the marbles. It's going to be for everything. You know, the most anticipated #1 contender fight. This is going to be a fight I think we'll look back on in a few years and see how much it changed the division, how big of an impact it had from such a icon like Conor McGregor going against such a work-hard guy who's bounced back from losses like Dustin Poirier. And the lightweight division has a new champion with Charles Oliveira, new contenders to fight in there. You used to have old faces, new faces. It's a very, very diverse division, and it's finally sorting itself out, but by no means is it slowing down. Now, this one is definitely a hard one to pick from. It's definitely hard to break down, to see, and to anticipate what's going to happen Saturday night. So anyone who says that they have for sure certainty in one fighter or the other is out of their mind. I mean, this fight is razor close. The odds are even, you know, each one is 1 for 1, like I said. Who knows? I believe both of these guys are going to have their moment Saturday night. And this fight has been shrouded in controversy since the end of the second time these guys fought. As soon as Dustin Poirier finished Conor the second time they fought, right before he even got his hand raised, he went 1 for 1. That immediately booked this rematch. You know, it was right then and there. Dustin Poirier, without any doubt in my mind, was going to get this trilogy fight with Conor McGregor and not take the title shot, which caused a lot of controversy. You know, he picked the money fight over the title fight. He's putting all his eggs in this one basket to beat Conor, hopefully to keep that #1 contender spot and then go get the title. Interesting. More controversy was added whenever Dustin claimed that Conor never lived up to his side of the deal in the last fight to donate charity money to his organization. So there's all that. There's a lot of controversy going on. Nice guy McGregor, focused, calm, Poirier. It's interesting. It all builds to this story. So getting into the actual fight though. So prior to the last fight was a very interesting interview that I saw with Conor McGregor where he said that if he had Dustin rocked in the first round or saw that he was going to be able to finish him early, that he was going to take his foot off the gas pedal just to show off his striking and his boxing a bit more. Big mistake. Biggest mistake you can make, especially at this elite level of the UFC, especially with a guy like Dustin Poirier, who is known for overcoming adversity, who's known for kicking it into another gear whenever he's pushed to that limit. And it kind of goes hand in hand with how much boxing has occupied a space in the mind of Conor McGregor. He says no shooting, if you shoot, you're a bitch. If you, back up, if you tap out. The things you were saying in the Stephen A interview were just mind-blowing to me. But it is what it is, I guess. Conor has a different mentality. He seems much more brutal. He's saying that he's going to come out there with a whole new game plan, that he had a tactical error in the last fight, that his focus wasn't as focused as he needed to be. And Dustin Poirier, as stoic as ever, wants to go in there, replicate what he did, if not improve on what he did. And I think we saw Dustin Poirier change right before our eyes in that second fight. Personally, I don't think Conor is ready to fight the fighter that Dustin Poirier has forged himself into. I think that whenever he was face-to-face with Dustin, maybe I'm looking too much into it, but Conor was diverting eye contact. Even at the press conferences, at the weigh-ins, anytime they saw each other, it was just a different mentality. He didn't seem to have that same calmness, that same energy that he had in the past that we're also used to seeing. The Conor that we love to see is whenever he's taken over the entire room the moment he steps in there. And even whenever Conor was in the cage, it seemed like he was still trying to gather himself, trying to get used to being underneath those lights again, being used to being in the cage and on display in front of folks again. Dustin took it off full blast. He was ready to go do whatever it takes to win that fight. And we saw that, the entire time he wasn't fazed by nice guy Conor. He had something to prove. Dustin had something to prove. Conor seemed like he had something to maintain. Even whenever they got into the cage, Conor seemed like he tried to compensate for it by immediately taking the middle. He even had to get backed up, I heard Dean a couple times, just so that he could, start the fight actually. And Dustin, I think, did a very good job at being able to keep his composure. Conor immediately took the middle, wanted to have Dustin fighting off of his heels, and Dustin was able to adjust to it. Maybe that was part of the game plan. So in that fight, it was interesting to see how Dustin was able to deal with that pressure. He almost welcomed the pressure that Conor was putting on him, and he immediately started going to work on the legs. Within the first 10 seconds, Dustin landed 2 inside leg kicks. That kind of gave Conor something to worry about. Even though they weren't devastating leg kicks, it just gave him something to think about every time he stepped in. I think Conor was also very surprised at how comfortable Dustin was with fighting off the edges. I also think Dustin's ability to get Conor on the mat within the first minute of the fight was a tremendous win for Dustin. Even though he wasn't able to do much with that position, the fact that Conor now had to worry about being taken down like that, it just gave him something else to think about. But after a bit, Conor was able to get to his feet and was able to do some of his best work in the clinch, which is often overlooked. He does such a great job at dictating the distance, when to engage, when to make distance, and when to get back into the clinch. McGregor even managed to reverse Poirier and put him against the cage. And it's right here where I think Conor made a crucial mistake. I think at this point, he should have backed up. He should have made Dustin fight him out in the open, where we know Conor to have his best success is where he's able to move, where he's able to use different angles and to be able to basically flow out there in the octagon. Instead, he stood there in the clinch with Poirier, and at this point, that's where these two started talking back and forth with each other, which is very entertaining to see, but it also, to me, it seemed like Dustin became very, very comfortable in those few moments. He was able to say, hey, I made it out of the first few minutes unlike the last time we fought, and now I'm here. At that very moment, Dustin realized that the playing field was even. The rest of the first round, Dustin did eat some shots from Conor, some very powerful shots, even that legendary left hand, which has put down so many folks. And Dustin did go on to admit that left hand, those few shots did rock him, so it did give him something to think about. I personally probably wouldn't have shared that with my opponent because now it gives him something to build upon. So some of the big takeaways from round 1 were that Dustin was able to get comfortable. He was able to take Conor's power and get a sense of his timing and his rhythm. The moment that Dustin Poirier pointed at Conor, he turned into a completely different fighter. Suddenly he was fighting with a lot more confidence. Every strike had purpose, every movement had meaning, and it was just a great thing to see him put it all together. So one of the key tools in the fight, as well as the culprit of Conor's downfall, was Dustin Poirier's ability to continuously land the calf kick. But like Dustin said, it wasn't the calf kicks that knocked him out, it was the hands, which is true. And unfortunately, in the second round, we saw probably the worst 30 seconds of Conor McGregor's career. And those 30 seconds consisted of Conor McGregor throwing the same 1-2 combo 3 times in a row, and Dustin Poirier realizing he could simply circle off to the right, and he had his will with Conor, honestly. And suddenly the abstract striking that Conor brought to the table in the past, especially during his fight against Eddie Alvarez, was a distant memory. It was like he forgot to corral Dustin in. He forgot to throw those kicks that he used to keep people in front of him, to keep them in a section where he was able to tee off on them whenever he wanted. So after circling out, Dustin was able to let his hands go and eventually found something connected very, very well, which ultimately led to him winning via TKO. So going into this third fight, it's going to be interesting to see how each one of these camps prepared for this fight. Conor said he got more traditional into how we used to train. It was said in the past that his coach, John Kavanagh, was letting Conor take over the majority of training camp, letting him dictate what he wanted to do during training on certain days. You know, he kind of lost that grit, that hardship of having to go through camp and having to do these things in training, not having the option of saying, I kind of want to take it light today. I think this time around, we're going to see a much more comfortable and much more confident Conor. He seemed to be that way at the press conference. I think a part of the game plan is, checking the calf kick, but I don't see Poirier throwing the same exact calf kick again and again. He knows he's going to have to change up the game plan as well. I see Conor needing to utilize his angles again. Keep Poirier guessing. You know, he needs to go back to throwing those abstract strikes that people don't see coming, the ones that get them worried about things that they never even thought about. I'm looking for Conor to use his kicks a lot more in this fight. I think the stance is going to be changed up a little bit. I'm hoping, who knows? I think Conor is going to have to come back in here with something to prove. He seems like he has a point to prove. He said time and time again he's not going anywhere. He's staying with the game. He's going to keep fighting. I think for Conor to be successful, he's going to have to utilize his angles a lot more. Maybe we'll see him back in that traditional stance that he used to fight in. But I think he's going to have to start mixing up his striking a lot more. You know, he's going to have to start throwing kicks up high, you know, going to the body, using his kicks down low like Dustin Poirier was doing. I think his distance and his angles are going to have to be something he sharpens up on. Hopefully he sharpened up on over camp. But deep down, we all know that Conor McGregor wants to knock out Dustin hands down, period. That's it. Hopefully he doesn't make a disastrous mistake and end up chasing the knockout, which it leads to him being gassed out. So I think one of the major turning points of this fight is going to be that both of these fighters are going to have different game plans coming into this one. Dustin Poirier obviously can't keep using the calf kick. I believe Conor is going to be able to read that a lot smoother and be looking for it. And he's going to have to find his pace and his rhythm a lot faster than he did in the last one as well. So I'm looking to see him use multiple different angles, a lot of different combos, as well as throwing in some takedowns, faking them as well, being able to come up big on Conor McGregor. So with all that being said, with all the controversy, all the leaked videos, all the back and forth, and the 2 fights in the past, I think that if Conor's going to win this one, he has to do it in the first round, at the latest the second. If it makes it past the second, I don't see many ways in Conor winning this one, especially not with someone who's as experienced in 5-round wars like Dustin Poirier is. But both of these fighters do have a lot to lose. If Conor loses, there's not much left for him to do in the business. I mean, he could do the Nate Diaz trilogy, which I've been talking about for a while now, but both of them coming off 2 losses each doesn't seem as great as it did back whenever that rivalry was still at its peak. But without a doubt, that pay-per-view would still do numbers. After that, I see Conor riding off into the sunset with his millions, maybe to go fight Manny Pacquiao, and that's that. Dustin Poirier, you know, he had his title shot with Khabib, lost, fought his way back into another one, had the opportunity to take it, turned it down, put in all his eggs in this Conor McGregor basket again. So both of these fighters have a lot to lose. A new chapter will be formed at the end of Saturday night, but the winner I have picked is going to be Dustin Poirier, 3rd round TKO victory. All that being said, guys, I want to thank y'all again. It's been a whole year. I appreciate it. Like I said, comment who you think is going to win in the main event, the notorious Conor McGregor or Dustin the Diamond Poirier, to be entered in the contest for a $25 Amazon gift card. If you haven't yet, please follow the Kombat Kontact Twitter page, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Other than that, stay blessed, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you, guys.